Hi, welcome back. Now that you've concluded your animation, everything is in place, maybe you're wondering, hey, what about these 12 principles of animation that I've heard about? Well, you've already used them. The thing is, when you know the principles, you will use them automatically, okay? You don't need to consciously think about the principles. They're just names for things that you use when you're animating, and you'll see what I mean, okay? So, just so you know exactly where and how you use them, let's look at the animation that we already have and it's finished, and just put the names of each principle into the place that you use them. Okay? So, here we go. Let's select the layer of the bones and go back. Okay, so let's see. The first principle we are going to talk about is squash and stretch. And I actually mentioned this while we were making it because of these bones, the ones in the legs. Okay? If you select them, again using B, bone select tool, select these bones, these four bones. If you go into bone constraints here, you have squash and stretch scaling. Remember this? Okay, so this enables you to, when the character is moving, see how the leg stretches for a little bit, okay, right here on frame 30. We can emphasize that even more just for learning purposes. Look at that, okay? This is squash and stretch, okay? This is squash and this is stretch. Stretching the character and squashing it while maintaining the volume. This emphasizes the motion, like it's an exaggeration, which is another principle. They're all interconnected, and this happens, as you can see, here are arcs too, which is another principle. Again, you when animating, you won't be thinking, okay, now I'm doing squash and stretch, now I'm doing staging, now I'm doing follow through. This doesn't happen, okay? Unless it's something like I don't know, like exaggeration. Once you've done the whole motion, you can go back and exaggerate certain parts of it. Okay, like this, for instance, I'm using squash and stretch to exaggerate one a motion, a specific motion. Okay, so let's move on. Let me just undo this. Control Z. Okay, and so, okay, first principle, squash and stretch. Okay, as you saw, we use that on the leg, actually on both legs, because this one stretches here a little bit. It's more subtle, but if you see like here, it's more stretched, and here is more squashed. Okay, so we actually use that on both legs. So now the anticipation. Anticipation is the second principle, and it's about you hinting at the next motion, at the next major motion with a smaller motion on usually on the opposite direction. Okay, so let's see, where did we anticipate? Okay, we anticipated on the head movement. When going up, we know that the head will go up eventually because it's stepping up, the waist is going up, as you can see here. Is stepping up, stretching the back leg, and the waist goes up way, way up. Okay, so that means that the head should go up too, but it's not going up yet. Okay, but so we make a small movement downwards, again in the opposite direction of the main movement that's about to happen, to anticipate this motion. Okay, when it actually goes up, that reinforces the motion, gives it bigger presence. Okay, lets the audience know he's about to move, and that makes the step feel a bit more epic. It takes more strength to make this head go up, okay? Because you anticipate it by going down. It's like when you wind up a toy, okay? You make it go backwards so it then can go forwards faster, okay? It's the same thing. You can call it a wind up if you want. Anticipation is just a wind up. Okay? So that's the second principle. Now, staging. Staging, we really don't have a lot of staging here because we don't have other elements, and staging is about conveying clearly your idea. Our idea here is just it's a zombie and it's walking and he's like struggling to do so. So it's making things more obvious, okay? So we're make here the staging could be, I don't know, maybe these extreme pose like this, like he's dragging, I'm making it obviously that he's dragging that leg, it's dead weight. So that could be considered staging here. It's conveying clearly an idea. That's what that pose does. Okay, this one over here. And I don't know, like maybe the mouth moving, okay, also conveys the fact that he's dead, and the motion of it, all flabby, all the waving of the jaw, all also conveys obviously the idea that, well, the character is not alive. Okay, so that is staging. It's conveying clearly an idea. Okay, now the fourth principle is straight ahead or pose to pose. Okay, these are two forms of animation. We actually started using pose to pose and then we went with straight ahead animation. Let me explain what each of those is and what we did where. Okay, so straight ahead animation is when you start with a single pose, this one, and then you animate from beginning to end doing that animation as you feel like it. Okay, as you move along in order, you will do it. Usually, this is something that doesn't yield the best of results. Okay, because it's very organic, it's very like do as you go, and because you lack an end pose, it becomes more organic, more fluid, which is great. But at the same time, you might end up not exactly where you needed to. Okay, so I usually use a mixture of both. That's what we did here, and that's what most animators do. So what we did was we had this pose, and then we had here at frame 72 the same pose. Okay, already we have two poses, even though they're the same. And then I added another one in between here. Remember, we did this pose and this pose at 72, and at frame 30 I had this contact pose, the breakdown, the key. So now I know I have to go from here to here to here. Okay, and now in between those I do the rest. Okay, and this might be straight ahead. Okay, the computer already does the interpolation from frame 1 to frame 30, okay, automatically, and then I just have to make mild adjustments here and there to have things like raise the waist, because from here this position of the waist to here this position of the waist is about the same, but I know there's a passing position and I need to pull it up, so I will come here and I will change that. And again, I'm doing pose to pose. It's a pose here, a pose here, and a pose here. And then I'll do straight ahead in the middle, okay? Between the pose to pose animation, I will do some straight ahead just to make it feel more organic, like we did with this foot. Remember that we had the foot completely laying as it is here resting, and then I animated this little twist. Okay, this was straight ahead animation up until this pose, because I knew I wanted this pose and this one. So this here was straight ahead animation, and then also that, okay, when it goes up, that was a conscious thing that I did here to emphasize this, okay, just like this little squash and stretch that we do here. See how the foot extends on impact and then contracts, like smash, extends and contracts. Again, that was follow through I'm sorry, that was a straight ahead animation using exaggeration again with squash and stretch. Okay, all three principles applied here. Okay, so okay, going back to the model, see the whole thing. Okay, so we've covered squash and stretch. By now you know that it's the squishiness, conserving the volume. Anticipation, emphasizing emotion with a smaller motion before it, and staging. Okay, that's not really present here, although we emphasize clearly some aspects of the character and its motion. Now, straight ahead and post to pose, we just covered that. So when you have a pose here, a pose here, and a pose here, something that you want to hit, this is post to pose, and then you do the in-betweening in straight ahead animation. Again, you can do the whole thing straight ahead, but well, personal experience, it doesn't yield the best results. It's really easy to get all crazy with it and over exaggerate stuff. And okay, so that's it. And now follow through and overlapping. Follow through and overlapping. Again, we did those. Actually, we did those automatically with the tongue, for instance. Okay, what the tongue is doing, that little motion. Okay, that little. Let me just lock him up here so he doesn't get away from us. Here. Okay, this should be enough. The motion that the tongue is doing is overlapping motion. Okay, what is overlapping motion? Is it's motion that overlaps, hence the name, the main motion. Here, the main motion is the body movement, okay? The stepping, the leaning back and forth, and overlapping all of that, you have the arm swing, we have the tongue wiggling, we have this hair up there moving also, the other arm, all of that is overlapping motion. It's motion that results of well, not results, it's a consequence of the main motion that you're animating. Okay, henceforth it does not start at the same time, there's a tiny delay on it. Okay, so if he moves, like you can see the hanging arm, like focus on the arm and the tongue. If you see, like when he starts moving, the arm is it's still stretched, okay, in the same position as is the tongue. And now when he leans forward, see this drag that the arm has? It tries to stay in the place that it was due to inertia, so of physics, and now it drags behind, okay? And now it's wiggling and then it settles, okay? It's always starts this overlapping motion, it's motion that is the consequence of the main action, and it doesn't start immediately, starts with a couple of frames delayed or a little bit more, and it makes everything look more natural because it makes you feel like the main force is applied to other things, and those things are reacting to the main force, so gives credibility to the main force. Okay, in this case the legs movement and then the torso movement. Okay, so again, it's to emphasize the movement, hence making it clear, hence enhancing the staging. Okay, so now we've covered follow through and overlapping. Let's go into is in and is out. Okay, is in and is out. We have the perfect example in this arm over here. This arm moves that way. Let me just see the red lines. Okay, you can see it easing out here. Okay, you can see that the spacing between well, actually this is not the spacing, this is the timing. The timing here is the amount of frames here between these two keys is bigger than this, and this one's bigger than this, and this one's bigger than this. Okay, it's getting smaller and smaller, making it an ease out. Okay, I'm making it stop by easing out the motion. Okay, it's all that it is. It's that. Okay, you start slow, you step big. Yeah, you can also see that in the main leg, the one that we started by animating. Okay, so let me just activate these keys. You can see it's starting slow here and then stepping down. Okay, the motion from here to here takes 18 frames. Okay, all of this 18 frames and then snaps down. Okay, it snaps down in just 12 frames. Okay, so the easing in and easing out is when you make something start slow, it's a ease in, and slow, ease out. Okay, so again, you can see that maybe better than the leg, it's here because you can clearly see the keyframes getting closer and closer. This is an easing out. Okay, let's put him center stage. There you go. That's an easing out of the movement. And there you go. Again, we did that on several things. On even, for instance, automatic motion of the tongue. For instance, it eases out because if we run this automatically, see, it comes to a full stop very slightly. It doesn't suddenly stop. Okay, there's an easing out of the motion. It's not. It doesn't suddenly freeze. Okay, so that's easing in and easing out. Just starting slow and ending slow, making the faster motion be in the middle. Okay. Again, that is to represent the law of inertia. Again, it's very important in animation. Now, next principle. Principle number 7, the arcs. Okay, the arcs, we can see them clearly in the waist. There you go. See those arcs there? I actually mentioned this while we were animating. Mind those arcs. Organic motion always works in arcs or circles. It doesn't come to an abrupt, sharp edge here on the motion. You can see the waist going up and then going down, always flowing because it's something organic. Okay, and then it just goes into that one. Okay, so it's just a wave motion. Those are the arcs. You don't have arcs in very few motions. For instance, if you're doing a punch, a karate punch, it's a very quick motion, very abrupt motion, because it's supposed to be violent. So that smack, it's like from one frame to the other, you don't have an arc, you have a straight line. Okay? Other than very specific motions like that, you always have arcs. Let me see, for instance, here, where can I show you something else that's moving? The main one. So, okay, here we go, the foot. Again, see arcs. It arches up, it's a little wave, and then a big wave. Okay? Always do this flowing, like it doesn't. Let me break it so you see what I mean by it being weird. Like, for instance, if we move this one like this, and this one like this. Actually, let's make it a straight line. Like if I make this really straight line, see that the computer automatically tries to make it a straight a curve, and that's what you should go with because it's set to smooth here, smooth. Okay, you can make it linear. Oh, actually, yeah, we can do that. I mean, just delete those keys, and we can make it linear. It's easier to do so. Let's just have these deleted and all of this and make these frames linear, and you'll see exactly what I was saying. But in the change linear. There you go. And linear, I'm just hitting the right mouse button to bring up this. It's the same thing as going into here and just hit linear. And now, see what that did? That just doesn't feel good at all. Okay, this movement here in a straight line, sorry, this movement here in a straight line feels really weird. It's like a robot, okay? Machines moving straight lines, not organic things. Okay, if you're doing anything that is organic, you should do an arc. Let me just change the tool so we can see it again. Here, this feels weird. That's not natural. That's bad animation. Okay, you want to mind your arcs. You want to make sure everything flows like this. Okay, see the difference? It's much more fluid, it's much more organic. And because this is a zombie, we want it to be so. Again, if you're animating karate fighter or a robot, something that has very precise to the point movements, you want to do the straight lines. Other than that, everything is arcs, okay? So make sure that the arcs are properly bent. Like even we can emphasize a bit more this one, something more like this. And here we can go a little bit forward with it. Sorry about that. And like this. Make it even archier, if that's a term. Okay, and let's see how it moves now. See? Doesn't feel, well, it feels slightly weird, slightly weirder because it needs that little hump here, which is itself another arc. Okay, this little hump is needed. But again, make things flow, make things feel organic by adding arcs. Okay, now this feels weird because it has this straight line here and then it bends. But actually, it kind of works. Yeah, not big difference from how it was. Okay, so let me undo that. Here we go. Okay, so eighth principle, secondary action. Secondary action is something that reacts to the main action, emphasizes it. We here don't have that in the main action, but we do, sorry, we don't have that in the main character itself, but we do have it on this. Okay, we added the particle system as a secondary action, something that reacts to the main action. Those little dust particles, let me center this, that those little dust particles are a secondary action. Okay, that emphasizes the main action, gives strength to each step and to the drag. Okay, it emphasizes everything that you were doing before with something that is reacting to it. You can have, for instance, pebbles on the ground that when you stomp, they jump a little. Or you can have maybe a hat on the character's head. It's not connected like hair is. If it was hair, it would be overlapping action. But being a hat, when the character moves, the head kind of flip flops, or maybe it rotates a bit. And I don't know, like you can do all sorts of things with the head. You can just slide it on the head back and forth. You can have it bob up and down. And all those motions would be a secondary action. Okay, so that principle here, we have the particles for that. Okay, so that is 8 principles down. Going to ninth, timing and spacing. Timing and spacing, we already covered part of it when we talked about easing in and easing out. Okay, so timing and spacing, let's go back to the bone layer. This is the timing. It's the amount of frames that something takes to do. Okay, So here we have the timing is 72 frames with a breakdown at 30 frames. That's the amount of time. Okay, so that is the timing. The timing of a step is 30 frames, and the time of the drag is 42 frames. Both combined, 72 frames is one of it's a walk cycle of the zombie. That's the timing of the walk cycle is 72 frames. Now the spacing is, let me activate onion skins so we can see that the spacing is the difference between positions. For instance, like from here. Okay, we can have like the spacing is the difference between this position and this position or any other positions, and you can adjust this spacing, okay, by dragging things, conserving the timing. Okay, the timing here is the same. Okay, that's wait, this is way too fast. Let me do greater interval here. Let me just clear these frames just for this purpose. Okay, so this is the timing. Okay, and you can see the spacing between this like position and this like position. Okay, it's all of this in the middle, and now the spacing between this position and this, we while maintaining the timing, we can adjust its spacing. Will it be closer to the end pose or closer to the beginning pose? Okay, how will we space out our motion is just this. Basically, everything you do in animation is timing and spacing. Okay, by messing around with the spacing, you're adjusting the arcs. See there? Okay, again, by messing around with spacing, you're doing something about the easing in and the easing out. You might be making things like closer together in the beginning right here, making it ease in because then it's faster here, or you can just pull it more in this direction and now it's easing out. Okay, it's easing out of the motion. It starts fast and eases out. So again, timing and spacing is essentially everything in animation. So all the other principles are connected to this particular one. Let me just undo everything to bring back the full animation that we had. Here we go. And now exaggeration. Okay, 10th principle, exaggeration. As we saw before, exaggeration is on emphasizing motions like this foot hitting the ground, okay, with a little squash and stretch. It's exaggerated. The head tilting back way too much, okay, and having this the top part of the head stretch a little. Okay, that's exaggeration. Actually, this whole character is exaggeration. Even the design of it, the huge head and the lack of half an arm, that's exaggerating the character itself, not just emotion. Having the eroded mouth, cheek, and the bone here, all that is exaggeration. But motion wise, like this compression here that you have, like the leg is extending, fully compressing the body and bring, and the head is trying to remain the same place. This is an exaggeration of motion. With animation, you're trying to do something real and then pushing it to be a little more than real. That's this pose right here. Okay. And again, this pose right here, no one takes a step like this. Even a zombie doesn't do that. Your feet never gets into this position when you're walking. It might go into this position, okay, but never into this position. This in itself is an exaggeration of what happens. It's emphasizing the motion so it becomes clearer, again, reverting to staging, one of the other principles. Okay. Now, the two final principles are, well, solid drawings and appeal. Solid drawings meaning that you have to grasp the 3D aspect of a character for because animating here we don't really take into consideration the three dimensionality of the character except for the painting. Okay, when painting we made sure that everything has volume as if it was in 3D, but we don't have any 3D demanding animation. Okay, we don't have like a hand coming for us for the camera or the head rotating in any direction, so we don't really account for the three dimensionality of the character other than the coloring phase. But that's what solid drawings means. That principle is just being mindful that the character should exist in a 3D environment, even if it's a 2D character. In his world, he will be three-dimensional. So you need to be able to do rotation in any axis of any body part of that particular character. Okay, so that is solid drawing, and appeal is making him look good by posing him clearly and correctly and making the design appealing. Okay, this characteristic, the appeal, it's not just about the animation. It's also about the design, also about the coloring. Appeal is the principle that applies to everything in animation. Well, everything in visual arts, really. So yeah, be mindful that anything that you do with it, the character must be appealing to, well, to appeal to the audience, to make people want to watch more of it. So, and that's it. Those are the 12 principles of animation: squash and stretch, anticipation, staging, straight ahead and post pose, follow through and overlapping, is in and is out, arcs, secondary action, timing and spacing, maybe the most important one of them all, and then exaggerating, solid drawings, and appeal. And that's all 12 of them. With that, our class ends. Hope you enjoyed it. You learn how to draw a zombie, how to prepare your drawing for rigging, how to rig it, how to animate it, and then how to add these little extra touches, applying all the 12 principles of animation and making it appealing. And hopefully, you're going to make, like, I don't know, a web series or a short and anything that you want to do right now. So be feel free to send me your stuff when you have any doubts about it. Send me links to your works. I'd love to see what you do with what you learn. That should be like amazing watching something that you did using this knowledge. Moho is a really powerful animation tool, and you can do short films with it. You can do advertising work. You can do, well, anything else basically in animation that you want. Just have to have an idea and follow through with it. So, without anything else to add, this is me signing off, and best of luck. See you soon. Bye.